Greetings folks, Joe and Proper here bringing you yet another in my series. And this is going to be a part 2 to my top 5 defense rounds video, I suppose you could call it. Because we're going to also add a couple other rounds, the 22 long rifle and the 357. And there's going to be actual video footage of the recoil on each of those weapons. And a bunch of different guns that feature each of the different rounds. And as you can imagine, there's going to be quite a few 9mm. And my wife is also going to be shooting for the sake of the ladies or for people that might have compromised hand strength to see if they also could maybe handle the recoil of that particular round. Note, this isn't really scientific, but it should give you some idea as for whether or not you'll be able to handle the recoil on these rounds. And we're going to start with 22 long rifle. So with 22 long rifle, all we have to shoot really is the Ruger Mark III, which is a heavier 22 long rifle gun. So it may not be a great example of your smaller, more compact handguns, but you can see that the recoil with the 22 long rifle is really light. You may want to reconsider using 22 for self-defense, but if it is all you can handle, it is a light recoiler. 380 ACP is one of those rounds that people tend to shy away from because it's not a very powerful round. It's a light recoiler in bigger guns, but it's a little bit snappy in, say, this Interordnance Hellcat, which is the same size as the LCP and the P3AT. It has a pretty good snap to it, but it is still manageable if you have halfway decent hand strength. The Bursa Thunder 380 is what a lot of people carry in 380. Just like the Walther PPK, you can shoot quickly, and my wife handles the recoil of this with her petite hands really, really well. I love the 38 Special, and I love the 38 Special Plus P even more. My wife doesn't favor it because it is a very snappy gun. It's usually shot in smaller guns again, like this here Ruger LCR or any of the other small J-frames. You can tell when the gun is shooting whether or not you've got regular rounds in or whether or not you've got a strong Plus P defense round because you get a good fireball from it. And you can definitely tell the difference in the recoil with those. That being said, a lot of smaller people may not like that gun, especially if they can't hang on to it or if it doesn't have good grips. The 9mm is the most common round found, and that is because it is the most preferred round for most people. If you watched my video on the top 5 defense rounds, you will have seen that. But here we go. And with the 9mm, it is typically the most powerful gun that's easier to take for a lot of people. Now that depends on the person, so I'll keep the hating to a minimum. But if you're talking about shooting the bullet through a single stack 9mm, which we're going to start with and move our way up through compacts and into the larger and heavier handguns that shoot 9mm, it really does boil down to the person as for whether or not it's easier to take. Now, take the Beretta Nano. Here's a single stack. This one, when you look at it, you would think it would be hard to shoot. But it really was not so hard, at least not to me. I did consider this one to be a little bit jumpier, and so did my wife, than the Smith & Wesson M&P Shield. That one is good for just about anybody with any kind of hand strength. It is an easy recoiling one. It recoils straight back. For some reason, it just has a great spring system. It just works very, very well. And my wife, she even took it very well when she was shooting the gun. You could see here that the recoil made her jump a little bit, but she was able to bring the sights right back on target, and she was pretty accurate with it. The Walther PPS I consider to be the ideal single stack 9mm handgun, period. That's just me. It may not be you. But you can tell by when I'm shooting it here that the recoil was very minimal for the size of this gun. There was more grip surface to hold on to, and it was great sights and easy to put right back on target. Now we've migrated into the compacts. This is the Sarcomas B6p Compact from Turkey. This is about 2 or 3 ounces heavier than the Glock 19, but you wouldn't know it to shoot it. It's based on the CZ design with the slide inside the frame, and it is a very accurate shooter. As a matter of fact, it is about as accurate as the 1911s I've had. I'll shit you not. I swear to you. And my wife had an easy time with this one too. This is only about a 24-ounce gun, and it is pretty compact, And it is a very good choice if you don't have a lot of money at $300. The recoil with this pistol is more slight than you would expect when you look at its size. That's why it is a favorite of very many who have purchased it, the Sarcomas B6p Compact. The Glock 19 is perhaps the most commonly referred handgun to everybody based on its compact size and the way it handles recoil, and 15 rounds. Here you can see me shooting it with the regular guide rod, and then with my Lone Wolf stainless steel guide rod here, which made it an even flatter shooting Glock 19. I did notice the perceived difference in recoil when I was shooting this. More people will refer you to the Glock 19 than most any other pistol, and that's for a reason. This is perhaps the best defense handgun out there. Also based on the CZ design is the Jonik Shark C from Turkey. And it is also slide-in frame just like the CZ designs, but it's heavier than the other pistols because it has a metal frame. Double action, single action, also a budget pistol. The recoil on it wasn't bad because the grips were also very nice. Just like the rest of those CZ design pistols, the grips are great and I think they do help. I think the ergonomics of those grips help a lot. Not a bad shooter right here. Moving along to the full-size pistols, here we have the 6R P226. This is an old one, as a matter of fact, an old model. Commonly used by the police, commonly used by the military. It has landed a lot of military contracts, and it is a very accurate battle pistol. It's heavier, it's longer, so the recoil is much easier to take, although that makes it less concealable. Here you can see that the recoil is not bad at all, and it's accurate. Another nice pistol is this is the Zastava Ez9 Compact. Though compact it ain't, this is a heavy gun. However, that does help with recoil, and this is a very great gun to shoot. Not concealable by most people's stretch, this is a good gun to have if you want to throw it in your car or truck, or if you don't mind carrying a pistol this big. Trying to find a holster for it's really hard, but as you can tell by my stepson shooting this thing, the recoil is really, really manageable. That's gotta be because of how heavy it is, and I noticed when you take this pistol apart, it is built like a tank. Here we go, this is my favorite, the Smith & Wesson M&P 9 full size, 17 rounds. It's not very big, it's not much heavier than the Glock 19, it's incredibly accurate, ergonomic grips, everything teams up to give you a great shoot when you're doing this gun here. It is a very accurate pistol. It is a very flat shooting pistol. Smith & Wesson did it right. This pistol doesn't get near the credit it deserves. I've had 3 or 4 friends shoot this thing. They said they preferred it over their own guns or the 2 or 3 guns that I had on site. My hands barely move when I shoot this pistol, and I can get right back on target very quickly. This is my favorite. 40 Smith & Wesson. Now we're getting into the more powerful rounds. Now we're getting into bigger guns. A lot of people have traded in their single stack 40 Smith & Wessons because of how snappy this round is. Many new people may find it very hard to shoot and would probably want to get something even smaller. Most people want something easier to handle on a smaller gun. But easier than I thought was the Glock 27. I shot this at my local range, and I've got very bad footage coming up here. But this gun did not recoil nearly as bad as I thought it might, considering it's a 40 Smith & Wesson. It is a snappy round. However, I had an easier time with this pistol than I thought I would. Still, new people might want to opt for something just a little bit bigger. Take, for example, the Glock 23. They'll have an easier time with that. It has more rounds, it's a little bit heavier, more grip surface, and it's easier to shoot the 40 Smith & Wesson through the Glock 23. I personally did not have that hard a time with the Glock 23. I loved it. I cried like an infant child when I got rid of my Glock 23. I wish I didn't do it. And someday I will get another one in a different color. Even one-handed shooting, the Glock 23 was not bad. I thought it was pretty easy to handle. New shooters, though, beware. The Glock 22 is the full-size Glock 40 Smith & Wesson. Now, I only rented this one as well, but I did like it very much, enough so that yes, someday when I'm Thurston Howell III, I will buy another one. But as you can see, the recoil from the Glock 22 is great. All of that grip surface, that little bit of extra weight, that really compounds to make an easy shooting experience for the 40 Smith & Wesson. New people would like that. 12 rounds of 40 Smith & Wesson, the 6-hour SP 2022 was fantastic. A little bit heavier, still a great pistol, not very big, and it handled the 40 Smith & Wesson very, very nicely. Of course, 6 hours are built really, really well, and as you can see here, the recoil for the 40 Smith & Wesson in this pistol is pretty light. It's got to be due to the frame size, the weight, and everything like that, but it's not terribly heavy. Double taps there, and my wife, she handled this very well too. Now you can tell that it's a 40 Smith & Wesson by how the recoil has its effect on her, but she still has very good trigger control. She's able to come right back on target. And that is a key thing for new people that want to shoot. Even if the round seems heavy, learning your trigger control, getting used to that gun, and learning your sights makes the whole experience a lot better. But the bigger the gun, the easier 40 Smith & Wesson is. Yup, I'll say it. This is my favorite 40 Smith & Wesson pistol so far, the SD40VE. It also comes in 9. And if you can shoot a 9mm, you can shoot this pistol. This handles recoil surprisingly well, holds 12 rounds of 40 Smith & Wesson, and is somewhat concealable, being slightly bigger than the Glock 19, being slightly smaller than the M&P 9. This pistol is very easy to shoot. I was surprised, and I love it, especially the trigger. Yes, the trigger, it's a self-defense trigger, but it was a great trigger for a harder trigger pull. I recommend this one. In no particular order of size, we'll take on some 45 ACP pistols here. The 230 grain Sledgehammer 45 ACP, and I'm going to start with a bigger gun, the Glock 21. This is the full-size Glock that shoots the 45 ACP round. Now, 45 ACP is not usually used by new people or smaller people. However, there are ways around it, like the Glock 21. It's not concealable though, it's full size, but the recoil goes straight back to the back of your hands. Double taps and everything are very easy with this pistol. A smaller 45 ACP pistol is the Car CW45, which I would not recommend for new shooters or people with compromised hand strength. Only 7 rounds of 45 ACP and very concealable. However, the principle of having a smaller pistol with a heavier round being harder falls into play here. As you can see, the recoil is significant. Good for people that have shot before and with good enough hand strength. So far, I've not met anyone who hasn't enjoyed shooting a 1911, which shoots the 45 ACP bullet. It is a low recoiler because of its 39-ounce weight and its length. It is an outstanding shooter. Though maybe not for novices, because takedown and everything can get pretty complicated and make you say a few choice swear words. The 1911 is a beautiful gun to shoot. There's nary a bad 1911 to shoot. And this Ruger SR 1911 that I'm shooting is just one such example of an outstanding 1911. A great gun. And as you can see, the recoil comes straight back into your hands, and the accuracy of this pistol with the 45 ACP round is a winner. However, it only holds 7 rounds, and it may not be a good concealed carry choice. The $350 ATI M1911 military is exactly proof that if you follow the formula, the 1911 shoots like a 1911. This was a thing of beauty. The 357 Magnum, sweet mother of our Holy Savior. After this, you're getting into 44 Magnums and large game rounds, which you're not going to use for concealing a pistol. This one would be much easier shot from a large revolver, a larger, heavier revolver than this, which I was shooting it from this Smith & Wesson M&P Bodyguard. No way would I recommend 357 Magnum and a small J-frame to a new shooter or a person with compromised hand strength. I'm talking, this thing was an ass kicker, and after about 30 rounds of shooting it, I was ready to put that small J-frame down. However, I have shot the bigger, heavier SP101s, and it is much easier to take the 357 round with that. But the pistol is much heavier, so there's your trade-off. This is a round more for your advanced shooters or people who have shot before. So, there you have it. Whether you're a big shooter or a pea shooter, there's the recoil of 23 different guns, and there's something out there for everybody. So, I would advise before you go out there and get yourself a handgun at the gun store, see if they've got rentals or see if you've got a friend that has that exact same model that you want to try and try it out there before you actually buy the handgun. Many people have been surprised to find out that they cannot handle the recoil of certain rounds. And I hope that you at least found this video, though not scientific, to at least be useful in helping you decide which kind of handgun or what kind of round you're going to use in that handgun. Well, thanks for watching, folks. I'm Too Improper. My email address is scrolling across the bottom of the screen as we speak right now. That's tooimproper@gmail.com. Right, and I will answer you provided you are polite about what you have to say, and I've got the time. Thanks for watching, folks. God bless America, and keep on protecting your families and yourselves, regardless of what this Democrat administration and the media narrative is. It's always the right thing to do.